Okay, so the teaching for today, how to build a developed and civilized nation through responsibility. Responsibility before self, neighbor, land, and God. So how to build a civilized country through responsibility. Okay, here we go, Chris.
How to build, develop, and civilize nation through responsibility before self, neighbor, land, and God.
Okay.
Genesis chapter 1, verse 26 to 28.
I'm never leaving Genesis alone, eh? It's wonderful. I'm always digging in Genesis. Now, I'm sure you people know the reason, right? Because Genesis is the only perfect passage in the Bible. Genesis 1 and 2. Yeah, because those are the passages that were there before the sin came. And everything that follows, even in the New Testament, they are all attempts to repair what was damaged. So in Genesis chapter 1 and 2, you see the mind of God without any interference, without any damage, nothing to correct, without sin. This was before sin. This was before Satan even. So, and this was just God. So it's perfect, pure water. Pure water kind of. So I keep on saying things every day there. I keep on bringing out different topics from there. And because I'm a journalist and a writer too, so you are trained to put your thoughts concisely together, either in the beginning of the book, and then maybe, if you don't do it in the beginning, you do it at the end. But then the rest of the book is just explanation and things like that. But the real gist you put in the beginning. So I see that God is doing the same thing. So don't be tired though of reading that Genesis. Because you started this last time. And we are still reading Genesis chapter 1. Okay, here we go.
Genesis chapter 1, verse 26 to 28. Then God said, "Let us make man in our image, according to our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. Then God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth and subdue it. Have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over every living thing that moves on the earth." Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 19. "Thus says the Lord of hosts, Behold, I will send on them the sword, the famine, and the pestilence, and will make them like rotten figs that cannot be eaten. They are so bad."
So now let me first of all start with Genesis and try to tell you what we are talking about here. Genesis chapter 1, you see, God said, "Let us make man in our own image." And immediately he goes ahead to say that let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. First of all, can we look at the comments? Is the volume good? Because normally they will complain.
The volume is perfect. It's just this that we are struggling with a bit.
Okay. Thank God I asked the question. Huh? So without me asking the question, you let him read, and you have the impression that everything is okay. You know what I normally tell my office workers? If there are no problems, you are the problem. Don't be afraid of reporting the situation, because you are trying to hide it so that Oga will not know, that the boss will not know that there is a problem. But that is a bigger problem, because he's having an impression that everything is okay and it's going on, whereas everything is not okay. So it's better to stop and say, no, we're having a challenge now. This thing is not working. But then we have to start all over again, because it was not working and nobody said anything. You know, I just felt like I should ask. You see. Because when I read the comments, I just begin to see that people are complaining. So we should always address issues.
Yes, sir.
So in my office, I tell people, if you cannot bring me, what is the problem you have in this way? What are the problems you are encountering? They say, everything is okay. I said, you are not needed, you are fired. Fired? I didn't do anything. I said, you did. Wow. He said, what you are doing, you are just going through the routine. You are just going to work. You are not solving any situation. There is no way you'll be you are progressing, making progress, and without encountering challenges and problems. So if you are not having problems, it means you are my problem, because you have become a full stop. You are not moving. It's not even a comma. You are a full stop. You have become, yes, because if you are moving forward, if you are advancing, if you are making progress, you will definitely be encountering problems. So if you say everything, yeah. if you say there is no problem, it means you yourself is that problem. You yourself is that problem. So you are not needed here, you are fired. Because you are the problem. You are not moving forward that way. That's what it means. You are not advancing. You are not seeing anything. Because they are definitely a problem, but you don't see them. And when you don't see them, it means that is a big crisis. Because whatever you don't see, is like somebody that says, I'm never sick. Then next day you heard he's dead. Yeah. Why? Because, he's having heart attack and he's having hemorrhage of the brain. He doesn't feel pain. I never feel any pain. I never feel sick. You just, because pain is good. Pain tells you what is wrong. It leads you to what. But when you say that, no pain, no problem, I'm always perfect. Okay. Know that you will just fall down and die one day. You'll be surprised. I saw him yesterday. Well, that's the problem. Because, so to be saying there are no problems, that everything is fine, that person is your problem. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So that means that person is your problem. So, Babusha, thank God you are not working with me in the office, but here, let me know that those things, if they are working or not, okay? It will help. Dupe is very much awake today. Dupe Love is alive and awake today. She's not sleeping at all. The energy is back. It's most difficult in the first day, second day. But by the third day like this, she set loose. Okay, the egusi and the what? And the what there we go? Inyo, I think. The egusi and the inyo is working the wonders.
Over time.
Yeah. So the topic of today is how to develop a country through responsibility, right?
Yes, sir.
And I wrote that book. Please help me with that green book. Yeah. That's what it's about. You are born to make your nation great. It's all about personal responsibility. You individually, as an individual, taking responsibility to save a nation. Now, sometimes I'm always hesitant to mention that you alone is enough to save any nation. Because people are not coming from the same place I'm coming from. So when I say things like that, people just think I'm just making big mouth or big grammar. But in the real sense, if people are humble enough to receive new thoughts, to try to consider what I know and where I'm coming from, they will realize that it is actually easy. I am just an ordinary, because when I'm talking about myself, they think I'm because I'm Pastor Sunday. But I used to be just somebody, just like anybody else. So anybody else as well could take himself to that place where he will get to a place of taking responsibility for his own nation. Just like Livio is doing. Livio, is now working in the government and is becoming a politician in Holland, which is one of the most developed countries in Europe. But a year before now, Livio didn't want to leave. He wanted to die. We are going to hear your story again. Livio wanted to commit suicide. He wanted to die. He was in the psychiatric patient. He was, in the prison, in jail, carrying drugs. And now he's a star, a rising star in a nation. So, and he had never met me when he started becoming a politician. He just was listening to my messages, that's all. So what I'm saying is now he's taking responsibility for the future and destiny of his country. Now, both as a pastor, as a Christian, and as a politician. So what I'm saying, this book, you go, yes. You are born to make your nation great. Not me, not somebody else. You, Papa, you go. Yeah, you go. You in particular, yeah. That's what it means. You in particular, you are born to make your nation great. So not somebody else is born. You are. And that's what this book is about. It's how to change a nation through personal responsibility. How to change a nation through personal responsibility. So that's what that scripture is telling us. This scripture in Genesis, after God said we create man in our own image, then he said, let that man that is created in God's image have dominion over the sea. What is have dominion? Let the man have responsibility. That is teaching on responsibility. So that's where I got my topic from. Responsibility. Let the man take responsibility for everything on the earth. For the sea, for the earth, for the animals, for all creation, for the whole earth. And you know what I've discovered? People are not taught to take responsibility for the earth. No. I mean, people might be saying, okay, take responsibility for your life, take responsibility for yourself, take responsibility for your family, take responsibility for your children. That's what we see. But that's not what God is saying. Especially in America. That's the biggest, freest country in the world, the biggest democracy. But when you are in America, there is no country where you have gone to, and I see people feeling so helpless, as if your decision cannot, as if you are nobody. Now, everybody in America, you have the aura of thinking that everybody means something, but people are so far from the people who really matter, from people who really take decisions, from the billionaires. You see, it's like they are living, it's like a parallel life. It's like you just know that you don't matter. You just know that you don't belong there. Especially you are not from Kennedy's family, you are not from Clinton's family, you are not from these other Bush's family. It's like those people exist and you exist. They are just different worlds. But because they mainly make you to know that go and get a job, pay your bills. Not only America, but all over the world. France. Oh, France is horrible. I'm sorry. Well, France is just horrible. Oh, France. I mean, even for you to have money, at least in America, you can have your money, make your money, pay your tax, you are fine. But in France, if you come from today, and you didn't have history, you cannot, and you became a billionaire or a millionaire, and they cannot trace where your wealth is coming from. What is the history? Who gave you? Yes. You will become a criminal. So, like in America, America is bragging itself, saying that the American dream, anybody can become everything, but not in France. If you don't have history, you don't have your family or your relatives or You cannot just say you come and become anything. They become suspicious of you. Police, investigation, tax. Sweden too? Wow. Finland too? Sorry?
You have to show where the money comes from.
Wow.
Canada too.
Canada too? So the people who are comfortable with wealth in those countries are people who's really, it's like it is a country that is made up for your own. If you are not coming from a family that is already, forget. You will just be working. So what that creates in your mind is that you don't matter. The most important, the most you can do is to make survival for your family. To make your family, no. To be able to pay your bills. But that's not with the way God made us to be. God said, man. He didn't say from one family, famous family, or great family, or any family, or you, as long as you are a man like any other person. As long as you are just a human being, my God. This is our God, this God. But the world has messed up his idea. The whole world system has just messed up his great dream for man. His great expectation for man. God thinks highly of every one of us. But the system makes it to look as if you don't matter. But God, he doesn't even believe that anybody matters more than you. Every one of us matter to the utmost. So when he created man, he said, it doesn't matter what your name is, what your background is, you have the thing it takes to have dominion over all the earth. So he created them in his own image and said, hey, come on, time for you to dominate. Time for you to have dominion. Choose. Look, listen to your heart. Follow your heart and decide what area, what aspect of life do you like to have dominion in. Is it over the fish? Is it over the sea? Is it over the birds? Is it over the air? Is it over the cattle? Is it over the earth? Is it over all the earth? But they don't train us to have dominion. They train us to survive. They train us to struggle. They train you to struggle. And then to just be bragging and to be happy that you are doing better than your classmates. Or you are doing better than your neighbor. That's your bragging right. But that's not the way God sees your bragging right. According to God, it's when you have dominion, you are fully human. It is when you begin to have dominion, you are a full expression of what he had created you to be like. Yes. Woo! Yes. And this is Genesis chapter 1. This is the original chapter. This is what is intention. When you have dominion over the earth. And that's why in our church here we have developed the theology of spheres of influence. Everybody is called to have dominion over his own sphere. You must take responsibility to have dominion over a particular sphere of influence. That's why we talk about calling, purpose a lot. That is a whole area, a whole sphere where you are supposed to dominate and rule and manage the earth for God. We are all supposed to take responsibility for some areas and aspects of life. Be responsible for a nation. Be responsible for an area of life, a stratum. Be responsible for education. Be responsible for technology. Be responsible for youth, for women, for homeless people, for poor people, for restoration of a nation, for the redemption of a land. Be responsible for something, for bringing solutions, for bringing answers. Take responsibility. Like, Bill Gates took responsibility to have devices, laptops, PC in every home. Take responsibility like Steve Jobs to put, something in everybody's house. take responsibility for something. So our whole existence, we were created to be like that. Take responsibility to educate Sierra Leoneans, to open the mind of Sierra Leoneans to make right choices, for example. And, you've got to take, that is when you leave. We are meant to take responsibility, not just for having food to eat. I mean, dogs have food to eat, Even birds, even plants have food to eat. That's not a big deal, But see what God is saying. He's not saying take responsibility to feed yourself. No. That is an insult. That's why Jesus said that, what did he say? Worry not, or don't worry about what to eat, what to drink. No. It's the same thing here, because that's not what God told you in the beginning. Those things shouldn't be things that worry you or bother you. That is natural. That is so simple. You, so much potential is put in you, and you are using all that potential, like the thousands, the trillions of cells, the God's nature, God's capacity in you, and you are using all that might, all that awesomeness just to look for survival, to look for what to eat. I mean, you are an embarrassment. That's why God said, no, don't worry about those. I mean, that's not what we're talking about. We are talking about big stuff. We are talking about you taking responsibility for nations. So for me, I am, I'm very fulfilled. I feel fulfilled all the time because I have been able to influence nations. I want to go and influence more. I have my plans. I have my mind. I'm working on it. So I'm not, I don't want to use all these resources, the energy of God that is in me, just to go and be buying tie and coat and say, I got a new jet, I got a new plane, I got a new building, I got a new car, I got a good car. A whole resource, all God resources of trillions of cells in your body just to get a new car. That is metal. That's nothing. I mean, God, you see what God's expectation is? That's what you should be using that potential He put in you to do. Take responsibility for the real thing. You see what He said? And when I first saw this, I read this, I used to read this before, but the day I saw this, I was flabbergasted. It said, have dominion over all. This one word here. All the earth. It's not possible. That is, okay, I understand the sea, the fish, the bird, the air, but actually we are every aspect of the earth. All of it. That is incredible. And so what are we doing? So when people say, okay, you are just limited to one place, I said, no, I'm going to develop myself to be able to take responsibility for as much as possible, as much areas as possible. Because all the earth is not God's problem anymore. He has given you that ability. He has given you that authority. He has given you that dominion. Now it's your responsibility to respond or to reject it. And then when you keep on going, that other scripture that we read, you see that the whole earth is in mess. There is pestilence, there is famine, all this, there is sword, that's like a war, there is, hunger, there are disasters, there are rotten things all over, things are rotten, catastrophes everywhere, and you say you don't have anything to do. What's wrong with you? You are blind. God said take care of the whole earth, and all this rottenness is happening around you, and you say you are here. Then you are not here now. If you are here, take responsibility. I'm looking at Harry now, and you made a statement to me when I was talking to you on phone, on the internet. You said right now that a lot of young people like you, young Nigerian professionals, you call them middle class, everybody is running away to Canada or to the Western world, England, Canada, things like that. Because they have not been told that they are the ones to take care of the pestilence, of the famine, of the sword, of the wars. They are the ones to stop this thing. They are the ones to stop the hunger, the rottenness of the agriculture, the rottenness in politics, the rottenness in economy, all the disasters. He said he gave us dominion to manage the earth, take authority, manage the earth, manage the sea, the flights, anything, You are the one. You are not supposed to be running. You are God's image. You shouldn't be running from pestilence, from nature. You are supposed to manage nature. You shouldn't be running from creation. You are the image of the Creator. You don't run and flee from this. Now, I will also admit that even me, being a young, ignorant, blind boy growing up in Africa, my own thinking was not better. My own thinking was also to run away, to escape, because I was not informed. But now that I'm informed, I'm running back. I'm running back to where problems are, to where challenges are. I actually now I see the blessings of all these things. But my own country and all the people of developed countries, I mean, they are dying in the Mediterranean Sea. They are dying in Libya. They are dying in Italy, just running away. Human beings, God's image running away. God is in them. God, the God carriers, picking race. Not even from war, but just from circumstances. Instead of us to dominate. It's just like, you know why God made Israel, the people of Israel, to go, he gave them the promised land, and he gave them the promised land not in the lucrative territories of the earth. He gave them the worst. You know, Israel is like this. You know Sahara? You know what Sahara means? Israel is the desert. Yeah. You know, Israel is a desert. Now, it doesn't look like it now. You know, okay. But believe me, those people, that nation, they work hard to make Israel what it is today. I mean, you know, even though when you see Israel now, you see grains everywhere, those things are not natural. God didn't even send them to where there are trees. God sent them to where everything is dry and bad. Why? It's a statement to all of us. You don't run away from nature, you conquer nature. Yes. You conquer and dominate nature. You don't run away from disasters. You dominate disaster. You don't run away from pestilence. You dominate it. You conquer it. You don't run away from hunger. You solve hunger problem. You don't run away from challenges. You are God's nature. So God intentionally did that for Israel. That I am with you. You are my people. So I'm not going to take you to... Because when you read the Bible, the way Christians read the Bible today is that, oh, God said he was going to take them to a land where there is milk and honey. No honey was flowing there. They were going to cultivate that honey with their own hands. They were going to stay when there is nothing to conquer the pestilence, to conquer the famine, and to make that dry land a land flowing with milk and honey. They were the ones to do it. God didn't make it just come, everything is already flowing here. No, there were no milk anywhere flowing. They had to create their own agriculture and make it the best in the world and feed the whole world from it. Why? God is trying to make a statement. You are my people, I'm with you. You, with me on your side. Nothing is given to you on the platter of gold. But with me on your side, even in the worst and worst of conditions, if you will take responsibility, if you take responsibility for that land, promised land that I'm giving unto you, it will become from a dry desert, it will become a land so fruitful and so productive that it will flow with milk and honey. That is the way Christians are supposed to be preaching this. And I think Rory can tell us one or two things about that because he knows what I'm talking about.
The key in Israel for turning a desert into a green land was planting trees. Everywhere planting trees. And think about it. Taking responsibility or dominion has to do with having authority. But authority has to do with wisdom. So God put, we read also, all the seed-bearing trees. So you plant a tiny little seed and you get massive billions times returns. So Israel has cooperated with that. The other thing I was going to say is art is often prophetic. Before Obama was elected, first black president in America, which I had the privilege to prophesy to him when he was 14 he would be, there was a series on TV called 24 that prepared people for a black president. Do you know the first $1 billion film that has ever been released happened only a month ago in New York? And he was called Black Panther. And that's what the militant organization was named after, a superhero named Black Panther. But do you know what makes him super? Technology. And this is what the Lord is saying, because that movie ends. At the end of that movie, I could not stop thinking about my friend here and about you, who will change the world from Nigeria. Because what he says in the United Nations, the Black Panther King, is we will share what we have been given of technology that will change the world. And this is prophetic, my friends. This is prophetic.
And I didn't see that film. I didn't see the film that Pastor Rere is talking about. But everybody has been telling me I need to go see it. But do you know that from the very first day we started here, I've been talking to you about technology, about starting research institutes, especially colleges of technology, special schools. You remember I was talking about that? Junior schools, you know, talking about spies, talking about tech. You see, it's prophetic. And thank God. He was not here even the first day, but, you know, he got it. And it all starts with responsibility, guys. And but the sad thing with me is not that the African continent or the black people couldn't have done this, what I'm talking about. But we don't preach the Bible this way. No. But we always had Bible for a lot, you know, for hundreds of years now. We've been having that this same Bible. It has always been now somewhere in the house. Everybody, and you know, if you see the way Africans carry Bible, different sizes. Yeah, they honor it, and they respect it, and they have hope in it. But if you are not being taught, this Genesis thing, this one, every African can quote it to you. But if you are not going to be given the wisdom, like Pastor spoke about, the wisdom, the understanding, the enlightenment, the revelation, and if you're just going to read it, and just as religion, they make us to become religious people instead of dominating people. Now we are running away instead of taking responsibility because they have not taught us that aspect of God, that aspect of the Word of God. So we are running away everywhere. But it says that's why I had to write the book. How to change a nation through personal responsibility. God doesn't expect you to survive. And Jesus continued it. That's why he said, don't worry. Please don't worry. Don't even bother about what to eat. You are not here to survive because life is more than this thing. So why should life be more than that thing? Because life is for this. Look. Have dominion over the sea. What does that mean, have dominion over the sea? Conquer the sea world. Build submarines. Build airliners. Ship. Conquer the world of the sea. And right now in my country, no college, no university is being charged with the mandate of conquering the sea. Building submarines, building ocean liners. No school, no youth is being told that. No pastor is telling their congregation, this is what God is talking about. Conquer the world of the sea. And we are reading the same Bible, and it's written there, black and white. Then conquer the world of the inhabitants of the sea. Because he's talking about all the fish, all kind of things that inhabit the sea. So it's one thing to conquer the sea itself, and it's another thing to conquer the inhabitants, to study all the things. That is what education is supposed to be about. But with somebody needs to be told to take responsibility. But he said, have dominion, take responsibility to conquer the word of the air. If people have not conquered the word of the air, we will not have planes. But my African people, I want to challenge them, and God will help me. Maybe God will help me for them to hear this, my message sometime. That because we are hungry still, we are desperate still, and we are the people to take it to another level. Whatever thing that the world has done so far, we can start from where they are. We are not starting from scratch. No. We are no more starting from scratch. We are starting from where the world is right now. And we should give people direction to begin to, that's why we need all from primary, secondary to junior schools, to begin to study only how to conquer the word of the air, for example. Then how to conquer the planets, the galaxies, how to explore them. That is what he's talking about. So now, if God is thinking like this, you should understand Jesus better. When Jesus now came and found people trying to live for survival, what to eat, what to drink, he was just offended. He was just saying, So he was. This is what the Gentiles are doing. I mean, don't you get it? Life is more than this. Life is more. Don't you worry ever about what to eat, what to drink. Don't you get it? This is what your life is supposed to be spent for, not to survive, not to be looking for what to eat and drink. Don't you see the lilies? They don't even struggle for that. Don't you see the birds? I mean, you are more than that. Even birds don't struggle for what to eat. Life itself is a valuable thing. Life itself is God in you. And he wants to use you to conquer all of creation. You want to say something?
Why did Jesus say, be fruitful and multiply? That's the first commandment to Adam and Eve. And then what does he command his disciples? He says in John 15a that this is how you glorify the Father, is that you will bear fruit and fruit that will remain. So what we need to do, as pastors constantly teaching us, is to study and to ask questions. Study trees.
Yes.
How do they multiply?
Yes.
And that's what we have to do.
Yes.
Study the birds. That's how you learn to make airplanes.
Yes.
Study fish. That's how you make submarines.
Yes.
Study what God's already given. Yeah. There's a big disconnect for most of us thinking that we have to start from scratch and figure out some kind of great technology from zero. God has already given us everything if we'll ask the right questions.
Yep.
And he wants to give wisdom. And just one last thought. The first promise of the good news, of the gospel, of the new covenant is, I will continuously give Rhema. I will give continuously Torah in Hebrew. I will give continuously revelation to my children who are listening.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So there was a time I was teaching, was it on love? And I said, education. Most of the people I see, especially our people who come here to read medicine and all those kind of things, I said they are not educated. I discover after all that they are not educated. Because they only know the subject. They are studying university, and then they are still just, that's it. So, but really, real education is the ability to question. Real, when you know somebody is educated, when he has gotten to the place of critical thinking, when he could question things, and when he could dissect laws, causes and effect. Two things. That's how you know people are educated. When they are able to query, question, and when they are able to put life in principles and laws, that they don't believe in mysticism or mystics. That they know that everything, if somebody is educated and he has never gotten to a place of that everything is based on cause and effect, because only weak people believe in luck and just live by miracles. You are not supposed to. The earth is made to be functioning by cause and effect. So if somebody said he's educated And he doesn't know that things are proportional, things are responsive to other things, that there must be a cause before there is an effect. And if there is an effect, there is a cause for it. And if we want a cause, we must create, if we want an effect, we must create a cause. And that the reason why we have effect is because there is a cause, and if there is no cause, there will be no effect. If people don't begin to, if they have not gotten to that in their thinking faculty, they are not educated. Now, why am I talking about this? Because the reason why our people are not creative, and we are not, because we don't ask questions. Number two, because all the pastors have told you never ask questions. And never think that you can do anything. That's what churches do now. You cannot do it. Only God can do it. Only God will come and do it. But you see, like I said with Israel, God took them to places where they will have to ask questions. How to do this? How to do this? How to? He didn't make them ready-made. That because you have me, I will do everything. But if you go to a church in Nigeria now and say, I plan to do this, they will say you are too, either you are proud, or they will quote a scripture that lean not on their own. Yeah. Something like that. They will tell you that, no, you are leaning on your own understanding. Don't think at all. God will do it. It's not your problem. Don't worry. It is okay. Or it is well. Those are languages people now use in my country. When I was in Nigeria, I never used to hear that it is well. It is no problem. It is well. God will do it. God is in control. So people always say things like that to tell you that you just submit, surrender everything, give up. Don't use your mind. But a sign of education is actually that you ask questions. A sign of education is that you understand that the earth functions by cause and effect. There are logics to life. There are sequences to life. And God created it like that. So you are not antagonizing God by thinking. God made you a thinking person. Because that's the only way you'll be able to have dominion over the bird world and the air, the firmament, the atmosphere, the atmospheric world, the cosmos. Because when he's talking about the air world, have dominion over the earth, he's talking about the space, he's talking about the cosmetic realities, he's talking about the cosmoses, the astronautic, functionings of the earth. Those are the things we should dominate. Is that not beautiful? Life is more than this. I see a lot of Nigerians who are studying IT, and they are good in IT, but you know what they're doing? They're just getting good salary. They are measuring their success by their promotion and by how much they make. I said, you have just wasted it. Because you are supposed to measure your success by your domination, by your discoveries. But they measure their progress by their salary. So you are not even, so the idea of dominating doesn't even arise at all. Because they are thinking of salary, and after salary, car, house, I'm better than my neighbor. But they are supposed to actually measure their life by the dominion, by the domination of God they are bringing. Life is more than this. Because if you are still measuring your life by salary and by house, car, it's still the same thing as what to eat and what to drink. Because when Jesus is talking about what to drink and what to eat, he's not just talking about food. He's talking about all this. Yeah. Those are two small things. But once you said life is more than this. Have dominion, change the world. That's what life is supposed to be about. So that is, you are born to make your nation great. And I'm sure people will not be buying this book. You know why? Because this is too much for people. It's too much. I'm born to make my, no, that's not for me. That's not for me. It's too big. You are born to make your nation great. Maybe for somebody. I need to eat. I need to survive. They would rather go and look for something. Yeah, how to fry bread and butter. Do you have a book here on bread and butter? On how to get a job? So, yeah, so I thought I should just explain that a little bit for you before we continue. Let's continue.
One of the most significant truths in national development can be defined in one word: responsibility.
Okay, stop. Let's hear the way Livio came to this. Livio, if you don't mind, can I invite you to hear this way you came to a place of taking responsibility for politics in your country and for your country in general? Let's hear Livio's story. Put on the light.
Yes. Well, thank you, Pastor Sunday. Yeah, as Pastor Sunday already told you, I hadn't met him before I became a politician, but it's all because of the teachings he's been pouring into me on the internet. So before I even met him, I was going to church, living a religious life, and while I was very depressive, I was in a depression, in a deep depression. When I went to the doctor, they told me, you either need medication or a psychiatrist, but the condition you're at, it's too deep, because it was 9 years that I was dealing with the depression every day. So the first time I met the psychologist, he said that you're still alive is a miracle. Like after 9 years, all the things that I've been through.
Are you serious?
Yeah, right away you need a psychiatrist, they said. And the first thing I thought was, I need to go to church and ask them for help. So I went to the church, several churches I went to, but eventually I went to the biggest church of Holland and the most successful church of Holland, thinking they would help me. And the only thing they said to me was,
pray.
Pray and don't take medication.
Ooh.
And basically, we don't have time for you. I went to one of the apostles' workers, and he told me, I have 400 people under me. I don't have the time for you. And I said, I'm dealing with stuff. I'm thinking about killing myself. I told him that. And he said, don't take medication, and God will help you. So, and prior to that, I was living a life of a criminal. I was going from country to country, smuggling drugs in my stomach.
No.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, that I didn't.
It was in your stomach?
Yeah, and after, I started.
You swallow drugs?
I swallowed drugs, so I never carried it in my suitcase. So, I was not thinking about my life or the worth of my life. I was just living to get out of my own life. I didn't even do it for the money, just to get away from my own life and to, and
not for the money.
Never. I made a lot of money. I just gave it away or just bought things or, but money was not the intention of doing it.
Just to get out.
Just to get out, to be away. And when I was doing those things, the people around me were praising me because,
you are the hero.
I was the hero, and I like that. And eventually I had people under me working for me and carrying drugs in their stomach. Yeah, so I had a plan to retire at age 18. So it was.
Are you serious?
Yes. So I was 16 when I started carrying drugs.
You are becoming a drug baron.
That was the goal. That was the goal. And it was so easy because in Suriname, if you have money and you talk to people, well, they will just give you anything you need.
They become your servant.
Yes. So there was 2 times I went to prison. The first time I was 17 because it was a dog who wasn't trained, and he jumped on me and they took me in because otherwise they would never ever know that I was carrying drugs with me. And there I decided
it was the dog that.
It was the dog. And I thought, okay, this is maybe God speaking to me that,
So the dog was able to sniff in your stomach?
Well, this dog was, so they always have dogs around you in Holland when the plane comes, but this dog wasn't trained, so he accidentally jumped on me, and they said, just because of the protocol, we need to take you and just look everything up. And then they did an X-ray on me and saw all the things.
Inside?
Yes.
It was inside your stomach?
It was inside my stomach. Wrapped. Yeah, wrapped. Yeah, you swallow it. And I can remember because right away they say you're a time bomb, ticking time bomb. And the doctor was talking to me like, don't you care about your life? I was like, no. If I die, I die. I don't care. But it's not worth the money. I said, I'm not doing it for the money. So, yeah, really. Yeah, he's astonished. And many people are. And, yeah, well, in prison, they made me go to school. I had my high school diploma. I signed it in prison. And yeah.
You finished high school in prison?
Yes. And there I decided to go to church. And I did all the religious activities. I prayed. I read the Bible. I could quote scriptures to you. I knew every word in the Bible. But I didn't know Christ personally. And sadly enough, the people there didn't teach me how to follow Christ. They teach me how to give my tithes. They teach me how to be obedient. You know, just follow. Like what you said, don't question anything. I am the pastor. I know God. And you just do and follow what I say. But meanwhile, I was broken inside.
Thank you for telling this detailed story. Because even though I know his story, but it's never so detailed like this. Thank you for helping. Because you are now even relating this story to what is happening in Africa and why people are so many in church, but nothing is happening. Oh, Jesus. They teach you how to pay tithe, how to just come to church and just be obedient and just do what we tell you to do.
Yeah, I was in a small church, so I thought maybe
Charismatic church.
Yeah, Pentecostal.
Pentecostal.
They call themselves Pentecostals. So, you know, and not only I was in a depression, my whole family was. So my brother, who was 1.5 years older than I am, he was also dealing with the depression. He even was diagnosed with schizophrenia. So he was hearing voices in his head, and several times he tried to kill himself. So one day I went to the pastor and I said, look, there are things happening in my brother's life, and, well, I believe that God has the solution. And he looked at me and he said, I'm not going to help him because you know Christ, but he doesn't know Christ. And if we go and counsel him and he doesn't follow Christ, it will get worse. So you know what? I will come to you one day. And he came and he spent 15 minutes with me and my mother. And he said, you guys, you pray every day and you will see what God will do. God will do a miracle. You just believe in this miracle. 2 months later, my brother jumped off a building 6 floors high, and he died. Yes. And there I was.
Because
like,
churches, they just have a cliche.
Yes.
They just have, the normal routine advice. Just come to church. Just pray. Just read the Bible. That's all.
Yeah. And the pastor didn't even came to the funeral. He was
No.
on a missionary trip, and he sent someone else to say hi.
Wow.
And after that, you can imagine that I didn't go to that church anymore. So after that, I decided, okay, the solution must be in church. So I went to the biggest church of all, and there they said, we don't have time for you. So I was like done with church. And I also thought, if these are the representatives of Christ, I don't know if I want to follow Christ in this way, if these are the people who are the representatives of Christ. So after that, I went into criminal activities again, this time planning to retire at age 21. So I made plans, and I had several people working for me and smuggling drugs from Suriname to Holland at this time, and sometimes I did it myself. So the last time I went from Suriname to Aruba trying to go to the United States, and there the United Customs helped me.
United States Customs?
Yeah. They helped me on Aruba, saying like, the way you look, we think that, you're traveling a lot and you look nice and stuff, but we think you have how to call it? What's the English name for it?
Drugs?
Drugs in your stomach. So they did X-ray there, and this time I was in prison in Aruba, and they held me there for 9 months. Which is, I'm glad they helped me at Aruba, because they said if we would have brought you to the United States, it would be worse for you. So, and in...
Not 9 months.
Yes. But these 9 months were terrible for me because, this was the first time I really experienced prison. Because in Holland, it's really developed. I didn't feel like I was in a prison. It was like a hotel. They brought me outside, They said, if you want to run away, just run. We will find you someday. They brought me to school. But in Aruba, it's a Dutch colony island, but, it was a real prison. I was with three people in one small room. They only allowed us to go outside once, and the only thing I saw was the sky and the air. That was the only thing. So there, it really broke me. And the thing
was
is,
real prison.
there was a real prison. There was a real prison. Dry bread, water, and some tea. That's the only things. And I even think that I saw the rats every day, and I even thought that the rats were having a better life than I had in prison. And the thing is, one of we call it minister, but you have the prime minister and the people around him who work with him.
Yeah, the advisors, yeah. Cabinet ministers.
Cabinet ministers. One of them from Holland came to visit the prison in Aruba. And I tried to talk with him like, we need to have some changes in this prison because there is nothing here. And he didn't talk to me. And it was during the time of the elections in Holland, but he just wasn't giving me attention. So there I thought, I want to make some changes. If Holland doesn't care about their own colonial island and all the devastating things that are going around there, it raised an anger inside of me. And
you see the calling, the brewing of a calling.
Yes. And the churches even in prison didn't come anymore. There were Seventh-day Adventists. They were coming every Saturday to speak with us. And the last time they said, you guys are hopeless. We don't believe in you guys. So one of them said that. It's hopeless. We will not come anymore. So I came back to Holland and I decided, I know that God is real. That is something, if you know that God is real, you just know it. So I said to God, I really, really need a mentor in this because I don't want to go to church and just be religious. I kept going to church and I did everything. I was in the video team and I did what I needed to do, and I decided to go back to university to study notarial law to become a notary, which I cannot become because of my criminal record, but I still did it. I still went to university. I'm still pursuing my degree. And I said to God, I really, really need a mentor. I need someone to learn from and to know what to do. And I followed teachings of Dr. Miles Monroe, but he died. And then I saw Dr. Sunday Adelaja on YouTube. And the first thing I thought was, this is just one of all of the pastors.
Nigerian.
Especially because he was Nigerian, because the Nigerians are not really respected in Holland because people think they're always criminals or scammers and stuff. So I saw Dr. Sunday and I said, God, okay, everybody but him. I don't want to follow doctors. Back then it was Pastor Sunday Adelaja because I thought, somebody who's just going to exploit me or, take advantage of me like all of the others. And you were so far away, I thought.
Take my money.
Yeah. Those were the things I thought. So I went on holidays to Suriname one day. It was in August 2016. And I saw the book Church Shift everywhere in every bookstore. When you walk in the bookstore, it was just this, you saw it on like one
shelf.
of the best books you should buy. And I saw it, and I remembered you from the picture, and I saw you like, I saw him on YouTube. But I thought, this guy again, I won't buy the book. I'm done with it. So I went home, and every day I was praying and trying to find God. And while I was praying, I just saw the book. I saw the book in my spirit, in my mind, and it was unusual to me because I'm not in the spooky in the blah, 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 blah thing. I'm just like down to earth. But this time I saw the book and I was dreaming. I saw the book and I refused to buy it. And like after a week I decided if I keep seeing this book, I might as well buy it.
Jesus!
And that's what I went straight to the bookstore. I bought the book. I was on holidays. I closed my room and I read the book from cover to cover in 2 days. And I was so astonished and amazed about all the things God was doing in Ukraine. In Ukraine, because, you know, Ukraine is also in Holland. We don't like Ukraine because of an airplane that fell down, and, you know,
Yes,
like deeply rooted that Ukraine is not typical our country we would like to be familiar with. But, you know, all the things that a Nigerian man was doing, and the love. It doesn't matter that he's Nigerian anymore. It's the love and the kingdom values he's giving back to people. And I said, Lord, this is what I want. This is what I want. So, and I believe around that time you started with your live broadcast. So when I read the book, he didn't start with his live broadcast. He started after that. I read the book, and I keep listening every day, listening, and there was a time that I stopped listening because, you know, I didn't think that he was sincere, even though he never asked for money and the things were right. But, you know, because I had experienced so much with so many pastors and they all let me down, I thought this would be just the same thing will happen to me. So I didn't want to get disappointed. But when I got to the two series of the prayer series and the kingdom series, something happened because he started talking about taking your nation. And a nation is not only a country, but it's your area of influence. And then he said, you know, if you want to go into politics, you just you just go to the party, you go and you speak about the things, and you take dominion of it. And something happened inside of me. I got so excited about going into politics, so I just registered at a political party, and I attended all the meetings for, I guess, 6 months or so, while I was listening to the Kingdom series, the prayer series, and, you know, all those things that he was saying about bringing righteousness back to society, bringing love back to society, talking with people, solving problems. I was talking with the people about those things. I was debating about those things.
With the politicians?
Yes, with the politicians. And just the youth.
And they don't have answers. They just talk about technical things, but they don't know the solution. So when you begin to talk about it, they want to listen. Wow.
Yes.
Where are you coming
from? And everybody was amazed, and I didn't know that the person who was working close to the mayor was all the time listening to me. I didn't know that. I was just, you know, participating. And then after 6 months of being a member of this party, they came to me, they said, what you're saying, we never heard anything like it. We want you. Yeah, they said, we want you to become the leader. You have to write a formal letter, but you are already the leader of this party, of the youth wing of Rotterdam, the second biggest city of the Netherlands. I didn't know that I would sit with the mayor every first Monday of the month discussing matters concerning youth. And they would give me a platform to talk and speak to people. After that, even mayors of other cities, smaller cities, were calling me to speak to them, to speak at meetings of them. And they would ask me, just come and have a topic and speak about it. I said, what do you want me to speak? Just do what you want to do. We want to listen to you. And how can we set up all these things you're doing?
So all that cities in Holland began?
Yes. And this was all of listening for 1 year. The church in Holland.
And you had never met me?
Never met him. And
just
then,
listening.
After, you know, I was coming into the politics, I decided to come and meet with Dr. San. And we didn't even speak about all these things.
We didn't even.
No. And, you know, I didn't even only became the chairman of the
No,
youth
so what
wing.
happened to your depression? You didn't talk about that, and the psychology.
Oh yeah, I went.
Psychologist.
Yeah, so the church told me don't take medication and just pray, and well, that didn't really help me. So the
became
depression
more
was
depressed.
So deep,
Yeah,
I was getting more depressed, and it
and
even came to
suicidal.
Yeah, it even came to the point that I was. Because I was going to university, I was just living the normal life, and people couldn't see that I was in a depression. I could laugh with you, I can make jokes and everything, but inside I was so broken, and it came to the point that I was going to university. I was in the train, and I said, God, I can't handle this anymore. I want to kill myself. and I don't know if I will go to hell or heaven, but I'm done with this. I'm going to do this.
Especially since your brother did it.
Yeah. My brother, I thought, okay, he's in rest now. I have to deal with it. So I was thinking about jumping before a train, cutting myself, all the easiest way to just kill yourself. And then I felt God speak to me. One of the unusual things, again, I felt that God said, if you do this, you will bring shame to me. You will put me to shame because people know that you're a Christian and you have to do it right. And I said, God, and why don't you heal me? He said, because I know what product I made. I've given you the principles. I've given you my word. And there was God speaking to me. And then I heard Dr. Sunday say the same things when we had the personal talk.
Yeah.
That you said you just follow the principles. So I was looking for all the answers, how to get out of the depression. So I had to go to work and, take action. And I was following Dr. Sunday by that time already. So I saw the Dr. Sunday show, and one person asked a question, how to deal with depression, and he just answered it simply. He said, oh, you should go to a psychiatrist. You need professional help. And it was so basic and elementary, but to me, I was like, no, you need to go to church and get the healing. And I know that God can heal you like that. It's possible, but if he doesn't, you need the counseling. And I went to a psychiatrist, and he is not a Christian, and I was talking about all the things I was going through, and he said, you should make your own decisions, but if church is advising you to just take medication and not helping you, you might want to think about not going to church anymore. And then he asked me, how did you decide to come to me? I said, well, I'm listening to a man in Ukraine, and he's filling my spirit with all those
right teachings.
Right teachings. And he said, you should keep listening to this man. I don't know who he is, but
So the psychologist said, don't go to church anymore.
Don't go to church and keep listening to this man. Because this is helping you out. During our sessions, I had a session every week, and I would tell about what I've been learning of the teachings, and he would ask me about you, and I would show him the pictures. We'll listen to him, and, well, maybe you should leave church. That's your own decision, but maybe you should leave it. And after a year, I don't feel like I'm not in a depression anymore. I came out of it completely. And I was dealing with it for 9 years. So I just went through the therapy and everything, and that really helped.
You ready?
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
One of the most significant truths in national development can be defined in one word: responsibility.
Right.
Responsibility finds a way. Responsibility makes
Irresponsibility.
irresponsibility
So
makes
start all over again.
responsibility finds a way. Irresponsibility makes excuses.
Wow.
There are several meanings to the word responsibility. It means to be accountable for performance. 2, to answer for duty to be discharged by, never to betray a trust.
Yeah.
3, capable of making ethical and moral decisions about answers
able to answer.
able to answer for one's behavior. Proverbs chapter 28 verse 2. Because of the transgression of a land, many are its princes, but by a man of understanding and knowledge, right will be prolonged.
You say many are the princesses in land. Christians are many all over the world. But it takes a man of understanding and knowledge to be able to prolong the life and all the blessings that God wants to give to life. You need to take responsibility. There are a lot of princes, but only men who take responsibility make things happen.
We may have many princes, but highness is its key. Responsible or responsibility is a culture that must be taught from the home to the school system and in the government cabinets.
So you remember the way we say we propagate values, either through legislation or propagation. So responsibility is one of such values that must be, dissected throughout the whole city, its country. All people in the land must be taught the value of responsibility. If we would teach, like if you are reading that book, You Are Born to Make Your Nation Great, you will see that it is only when people understand what is personal responsibility, then things change. Can you imagine when the whole country is taught to take individual, personal responsibility? But in my country right now, everybody is pointing an accusing finger at the past, as the bishop, at the government. Government is to blame. Government is this. Government is this. People don't take the personal responsibility. They don't even see themselves as responsible for what's happening in the country.
Romans chapter 13, verse 1 to 4. Let every soul be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and the authorities that exist are appointed by God. Therefore, whoever resists the authority resists the ordinance of God, and those who resist will bring judgment on themselves. For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to evil. Do you want to be unafraid of the authority? Do what is good, and you will have praise from the same. For he is God's minister to you for good. But if you do evil, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword in vain. For he is God's minister, an avenger to execute wrath on him who practices evil.
So, government have their own responsibility, but that doesn't set you free from your own civic duties. So, as authorities have to do what they need to do, you also have your duty of responsibility that you need to carry out as a citizen. So we don't just say government is to blame for everything, that's all. Yep.
There are a number of areas where every citizen must show a high level of accountability before the nation can move forward.
Right.
Responsibility before self.
So there are different forms of responsibility. The most important area of responsibility is responsibility before yourself. You have to take responsibility for yourself. Right?
Self-education is, I firmly believe, the only kind of education there is.
So if you are taking responsibility for yourself, the first way you start is by self-development, self-education.
Responsibility before man and neighbors.
Yep. That is the second one. So you don't just take responsibility for your own self, you must take responsibility for people around you. Yeah.
Responsibility before the land.
That is the next level of responsibility. Take responsibility for the country or for the city, for the land where you live in.
Responsibility before God.
That's the next level of responsibility. You've got to take responsibility for God. Before God.
Every citizen must know he and only he alone is responsible for his actions, not the government, not his parents, not any other person.
Yep.
Ezekiel chapter 18 verse 4. Behold, all souls are mine. The soul of the Father as well as the soul of the Son is mine. The soul who sins shall die.
Yeah. So that's responsibility. Everybody that does anything is responsible for his own action. Everyone is responsible for his own action.
It is the soul that sins that must die. Everybody must know there are consequences for his or her actions. Every action leads to a reaction.
Yep.
When you choose an action, you choose the consequences of that action. When you desire a consequence, you had damned well better take the action that would create it.
That is by
Louis McMaster Bujold.
Yep.
it also means if you don't work, you don't deserve to eat. If you didn't carry out your responsibility, you must be able to take responsibility for your future.
For your failure.
For your failure, sorry. For your failure, suffer the consequences. Romans chapter 1 verse 20. For since the creation of the world...
When we talk of a country like Nigeria, all of us have collective responsibility for the failure of the land. So just to blame the government is not enough. We are all responsible for what is not working. Yeah.
Romans 1 verse 20. For since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse.
We don't have excuse. God has given us so much all around us that we don't have excuse to fail.
There is no greater law that can effectively govern a society as the law of loving your neighbor as yourself.
Amen. And that's responsibility. You've got to take responsibility not just for yourself, but for your neighbor too.
Notice principle number 1. Everything I do affects somebody else. Everything somebody does affects me.
And that's why I must be responsible for myself and for my neighbor.
Notice principle number 2. I must sow good to reap good. Galatians 6 from verse 6 to 9. Let him who is taught the word share in all good things with him who teaches. Do not be deceived. God is not mocked. For whatever a man sows, that he will also reap. For he who sows to his flesh will of the flesh reap corruption. But he who sows to the Spirit will of the Spirit reap everlasting life. And let us not grow weary while doing good. For in due season we shall reap if we do not lose heart. Notice principle number 3. You are your brother's neighbor's keeper or ruined.
Yeah, or we all rowing together.
Genesis 4 verse 5 to 9. But he did not respect Cain and his offering. And Cain was very angry, and his countenance fell. So the Lord said to Cain, why are you angry? And why has your countenance fallen? If you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin lies at the door, and its desire is for you, but you shall rule over it. Now Cain talked with Abel his brother, and it came to pass, when they were in the field, that Cain rose up against Abel his brother and killed him. Then the Lord said to Cain, where is Abel your brother? He said, I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper?
Well, God wants all of us to be our brother's keeper. But the society we live in, especially in Africa, now everybody is to their tent. Everybody is living a egocentric life. Everybody just cares for themselves and their families. Well, that's why, there will never be progress in the society.
Are you a keeper or a killer? We kill people in our words, actions, etc. Responsibility before land is essential because 1. Availability of resources doesn't equal production. Hence, resources must be kept, cultivated, and developed.
Everybody needs to do that. It's not just the government.
Hebrews 13:17. Obey those who rule over you, and be submissive, for they watch out for your souls, as those who must give account. Let them do so with joy, and not with grief, for that will be unprofitable for you.
Yep.
2. It means to obey the ordinances of the land, its government. Hebrews 13:7. Remember those who rule over you, who have spoken the word of God to you, whose faith follow, considering the outcome of their conduct. Romans 13:14. But put on the Lord Jesus Christ, and make no provision for the flesh to fulfill its lusts. Isaiah 24, 1-3. Behold, the Lord makes the earth empty and makes it waste, distorts its surface and scatters abroad its inhabitants. And it shall be, as with the people, so with the priest, as with the servant, so with his master.
When you don't take responsibility for the land begins to punish you. It needs to spit you out and begins to destroy the inhabitants of the land. Yeah.
As with the servant, so with his master. As with the maid, so with her mistress. As with the buyer, so with the seller. As with the lender, so with the borrower. As with the creditor, so with the debtor. The land shall be entirely emptied and utterly plundered, for the Lord has spoken this word.
That's because the land, if you don't take responsibility for it, you reap the consequences.
Isaiah 24.
So that is the mandate we are given. You know, have dominion over the whole earth. So when you don't do it, you get catastrophes, you get natural disasters, you get famine, you get poverty, you get economic difficulties, you get crime. Things will begin to happen that will make the dwellers to begin to run away. And that's why you see all migrants, immigrants, everybody running away, because they don't take care of the earth, as God has said, to have dominion over the earth.
That's also part of the story of Israel when they were disobedient.
Yes. Right.
Isaiah 24, 4-6. The earth mourns and fades away. The world languishes and fades away.
You see what's happening? The earth is mourning, and we want to survive. We are talking about bread and butter. That's why Jesus said, life is more than this. Life is more than what to eat or what to drink or what to wear. Life is more than this. Look, the earth is mourning. It's fading away. The earth is languishing. It's fading away. Haughty people are, there are haughty people in the earth. The earth is languishing. The earth is defiled. Is defiling its inhabitants or transgression. All these things are happening, and you are thinking of what to eat. When God gave you authority and mandate to manage the earth, to manage all these things, to be a co-creator with God, to be the image and likeness of God, and you are just walking, going to Uncle Sam to survive. When there are children who cannot go to school, when there are pregnant women who don't even have to deliver, and you are just saying you just want to survive. I mean, what a waste. And God give the resources into you, put it in you to manage the earth, to have total dominion on the earth. Please.
The earth mourns and fades away. The world.
Why that is happening? Where are you? What are you doing? You are surviving? Yep.
The earth mourns and fades away. The world languishes and fades away. The haughty people of the earth languish. Yeah.
Yep.
The earth is also defiled under its inhabitants because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant. Therefore, the curse has devoured the earth, and those who dwell in it are desolate. Therefore, the inhabitants of the earth are burned, and few men are left.
You see? Somebody needs to take responsibility for these things. It's about responsibility. God is looking for people who will use their God-given mandate and take responsibility. Yep.
3. It means hot to defile the law of the nature. It means not to defile the law of the nature too. Hosea 4, 1-3. Hear the word of the Lord, you children of Israel. For the Lord brings a charge against the inhabitants of the land. There is no truth or mercy or knowledge of God in the land.
That's what will heal it. Somebody needs to bring that back. Take responsibility.
By swearing and lying, killing and stealing, and committing adultery,
Somebody needs to use righteousness, the things that are in the front. Number one, truth, mercy, knowledge, to heal and to cure all these things here.
by swearing and lying, killing and stealing, and committing adultery, they break all restraints with bloodshed upon bloodshed. Therefore the land will mourn, and everyone who dwells there will waste away with the beasts of the field and the birds
So
of the
these
air.
things are predictable. Life is predictable. And the answers also are predictable. Somebody needs to take responsibility and restore truth to the land, justice to the land, honesty to the land, equity to the land, and that will be healed. If you don't, nobody doing this, then this will happen. Yeah. Miracle will not come. God will not do it. Somebody needs to do it. That's what responsibility is about. Yes.
Hosea 4:4-6. Now let no man contend or rebuke another, for your people are like those who contend with the priest. Therefore you shall stumble in the day. The prophet also shall stumble with you in the night, and I will destroy your mother. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge.
You see?
Because you have rejected knowledge, I also will reject you from being priest for me. Because you have forgotten the law of your God, I also will forget your children.
That's what happened. These are natural consequences of people now taking responsibility for the land. Take responsibility for knowledge. Bring understanding to people so that they will avoid destruction.
4. Be committed to the well-being of the land.
Yeah.
Jeremiah 29:7. And seek the peace of the city, where I have caused you to be carried away captive, and pray to the Lord for it, for in its peace you will have peace.
Even if you are a foreigner, God still wants you to take responsibility for where you find yourself.
5. We owe everything to God. Deuteronomy 6:10-15. So it shall be when the Lord your God brings you into the land of which he swore to your fathers, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to give you large and beautiful cities which you did not build, houses full of all good things which you did not fill, hewn out wells which you did not dig, vineyards and olive trees which you did not plant, when you have eaten and are full. Then beware lest you forget the Lord who brought you out of the land of Egypt, from the house of bondage. You shall fear the Lord your God and serve him, and shall take oath in his name. You shall not go after other gods, the gods of the peoples who are all around you. For the Lord your God is a jealous God among you, lest the anger of the Lord your God be aroused against you and destroy you from the face of the earth.
Yeah, so this for immigrants and for people who are, okay, for example, you have come to Europe, cities you have not built, economy you didn't build. But when you get there, are you imposing God? Do you take responsibility for that land to bring the knowledge of God there? Or you are going to be conquered by the spirit of the land? And that's what's happening here.
Deuteronomy chapter 6:16-20. You shall not tempt the Lord your God as you tempted him in Massah. You shall diligently keep the commandments of the Lord your God, his testimonies and his statutes, which he has commanded you. And you shall do what is right and good in the sight of the Lord, that it may be well with you, and that you may go in and possess the good land of which the Lord swore to your fathers, to cast out all your enemies from before you, as the Lord has spoken. When your son asks you in the time to come, saying, what is the meaning of the testimonies, the statutes, and the judgment which the Lord our God has commanded you?
So you have to go and possess the land. You have to go and do what is right and keep the memory for your children. Take responsibility for the passage of the knowledge of the Lord from generation to generation.
We should be responsible for his laws to be a part and parcel of our daily work and duties. Deuteronomy chapter 8 verse 17 to 20. Then you say in your heart, my power and the might of my hand have gained me this wealth. And you shall remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you power to get wealth, that he may establish his covenant which he swore to your fathers, as it is this day. Then it shall be, if you by any means forget the Lord your God, and follow other gods, and serve them and worship them, I testify against you this day that you shall surely perish. As the nations which the Lord destroys before you, so you shall perish, because you will not be obedient to the voice of the Lord your God.
So you take responsibility for the earth, you begin to have progress, you begin to have growth, you begin to have prosperity. But when that comes, don't begin to think that it is because of you, that because of your efforts, because you are good. No, because it's just because of the mandate that you have. It's because of the thing you need to do. Don't make the mistake other nations make. When you begin to grow, when you begin to take responsibility, things will grow, things will happen. But always remain humble under the will of God. Yeah.
Curse comes upon any land that despises his creator.
Yeah, so when things begin to come for you, don't despise. Because that's what has happened in Europe and America. The more prosperity comes, the more they become powerful, the farther they go away from God. So that's what God was warning Israel about. If things will work for you, the principles are there. The principles will work for you, especially when you begin to take responsibility. But if you begin to grow, to get the results, don't begin to credit yourself. Always remain humble before God.
If you realize your responsibility, you will realize your destiny. Deuteronomy 8, verse 17 to 18. Then you say in your heart, my power and the might of my hand have gained me this wealth. And you
that's the greatest danger with results. Because you will have results. When you begin to take responsibility for areas of life, like God said, you will have results. But these are the dangers you have to be careful of.
And you shall remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you power to get wealth, that he may establish his covenant, which he swore to your fathers, as it is this day. The price of greatness is responsibility, by Winston Churchill.
Okay. They said my time is over, but we managed to finish the topic.